Welcome to the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. Tonight in front of another sold-out crowd at Siebert Field, the Golden Gophers of Minnesota will try to do something they haven't done in 41 years, and that's win a regional championship. For the second straight night, they're going to meet the Bruins of UCLA. Here's what happened after midnight early this morning. Tied at 2, top of the 10th. The Gophers' senior third baseman Micah Coffey rifles an RBI double and scores the game winner. 3-2 in the 10th. And that meant UCLA had to play a must-win game against Gonzaga. Ryan Garcia was great. He had a no-hitter through 6 1/3, and they gave him some offensive support, too. They scored 10 runs to knock out Gonzaga and stay alive. 10-4 the final. That sets up rematch here tonight. Here's a look at the bracket. Minnesota and UCLA. The Gophers can clinch a trip to the Supers. UCLA trying to force a 7th game in this regional tomorrow night. Hi again, everybody. Welcome back to Minneapolis alongside Dana Hughes, former Iowa Hawkeye great. I'm Clay Matvick. So you have UCLA, who just an hour and a half ago had to play for their lives. Now they're back here in a rematch game against Minnesota. It's not going to be easy for the Bruins tonight.
Not going to be easy at all, but let's face it, the bats finally showed up for the Bruins. They got 10 runs on 13 hits. Been waiting around for that offensive production they desperately needed to be continuing tonight.
So 2-0 are the Golden Gophers, and Terrin Vavra has led the way up to this point. The shortstop for Minnesota, who's likely going to hear his name called in the draft this coming week, is going to try and lead the Gophers to a super regional.
Well, what's new? Terrin Vavra has been that guy for the Gophers all season long. No doubt that he's going to keep this going. He's batting .500 in this regional thus far, and has accounted for 3 RBI as well. So the All-American has to keep things going for the Gophers to get where they want to be.
John Anderson has won close to 1,300 ball games in his coaching career at Minnesota. But if he gets a win here tonight, it would undoubtedly be the biggest of his career. First pitch, Bruins, Gophers next. Well, last night was interesting. Entertaining, to say the least. Minnesota with the game-winning run in the top of the 10th. Frederickson, the Big Ten Pitcher of the Year, he struck out 7 over 6 innings. Zach Petway was really good as the starter for UCLA. But it was Max Meyer, the closer for Minnesota, who pitched 3 innings last night, struck out 6, kept UCLA in check, and Minnesota wins it in extra innings. So now we'll see what happens here tonight in part 2 of this regional matchup between the Bruins and the Gophers. It's Jake Stevenson climbing the mound for Minnesota, the 6'4", 225-pound junior from Waconia. This will be his 8th start.
Well, he's garnered a lot of confidence from John Anderson over the past couple of weeks. 90 to 94 with his fastball, but his slurve, a little slider and a little curveball mixed in, is the pitch that works well for him. But the biggest point is he's going to have to challenge these Bruins bats. He has had some command issues during the season, walked some batters, and it's going to be essential that he challenges them in a smart fashion.
You talked about the UCLA bats, Dana. 10 runs on 13 hits against Gonzaga earlier today. It's essentially the same group of guys for UCLA, save Jack Stronach, who's in the lineup for this one as the designated hitter in the 5-hole. But Chase Strumpf has been absolutely terrific. The second baseman, 7 for 15 in the regional. He has scored 4 times, and he's driven in a run.
And it's all been about extra base hits for Strumpf in the middle of that lineup. If they can get Tolia going, could bode well for the Bruins.
So here we go. It's sunny but cool. Temperatures in the upper 60s as we get ready for the first pitch. Jeremy Iden's in the box for the Bruins. And the first pitch is outside. Home plate umpire is Greg Street. So the Bruins should be good and lathered up. Beating Gonzaga earlier. That's fouled off by Idens, who's 3 for 14 in the regional. The Bruins scored one right away in the first inning last night against Patrick Fredrickson. But that bottom half of the first came after a 38-minute lightning delay. No weather issues tonight. Tapper back to the mound. And Stevenson and the first baseman Cole McDevitt can't complete an easy play. So Idens is on.
Tough break for the Gophers. Good job of hustling down the line by Idens, but right here, just his feet get caught up. Didn't know if he wanted to run closer to the first baseman, as we see a lot of pitchers do with an underhand throw. Just crossed himself up. Not the way you want to start the game.
And now Kevin Kendall comes up for the Bruins. The left-handed hitting freshman shortstop. They're going to test the catcher right away, but the pitch hit the batter. What a disastrous start here for Stevenson. An error, and now he hits Kendall on the first pitch.
Well, we saw the Bruins against the Gophers employ the run game early. And originally I thought that may have hit the bat, but it seemed to hit the shield on his arm, and he gets the free pass.
Two on, nobody out, and the dangerous Strumpf coming up now for UCLA. Last night, the Bruins had several opportunities just like this one, but they left a lot of runners on base. They have set the table early, nobody out. Strumpf fouls it back. 7 for 15, 5 doubles in the tournament. He was 2 for 5 last night with a strikeout. Semifinalist for the Dick Howser Trophy, which goes to the best college player in the country. Last year, Brendan McKay of Louisville won it. He also won the Golden Spikes Award. So it gives you an idea of the caliber of player the sophomore second baseman is. He dumps it toward the right fielder, who makes a running catch toward the line. Kozaki with the grab. Tagging from second is Idens. So now first and third and one out for the Bruins.
Good
stayed up for Kozaki.
Excuse me. Good smart base running by Idens coming from second base. Had a similar situation where he went halfway earlier in his regional and did not get a chance to advance from second. That time stayed back and tagged up on the catch by Kozaki out in right field. You're talking about Strumpf and all the accolades that he is potentially going to garner. Tolia, these two guys, a 1-2 punch in the 3-4 spots in this order, could be of the best in the country.
That fly ball out to right field stayed up in the air, and there is a heavy wind going out to right center here tonight. It's likely going to affect play at some point.
Well, earlier in the regional, it wasn't going out straightaway center. It was going more towards right. That ball probably would have landed and been another ground rule double if we were playing last night or the night before. And that's as strong as it's been. Anybody get the ball up in the jet stream?
330 down the lines, 390 to straightaway center, 365 to the power alleys. Dick Siebert Field hosting a regional tournament for the first time since 2000. The Gophers haven't won one since 1977. Stevenson's pitch is lashed to the left fielder. Mazenga's going to make the catch. Tagging from third is Idens. He's got good speed, scores easily as the throw comes into second. And it's 1-0 Bruins, just like last night. They jump out to the first inning lead.
Well, they did that earlier today as well. The offense has to get going early, the top of the lineup, getting this job done. Ball getting hit hard early against Stevenson. And as we mentioned, 13 hits earlier this afternoon. Trying to carry that over to this game and live for tomorrow.
Now Jack Stronach, sophomore designated hitter. 1 for 3 with a couple of runs batted in. And those came in our first game today. A pinch hit 2-run double against Gonzaga.
You have Kevin Kendall on first base. He does have the speed to steal. Didn't want to employ a stolen base attempt. Got him.
Picked off. Great move by Jake Stevenson to get out of the inning. So UCLA gets 1, but that's all the Bruins will get. The Gophers coming up to the plate for the first time. 1-0 UCLA. .6'6", 222-pound sophomore Jack Ralston will go to the mound tonight for UCLA. It'll be his 9th start. He's 1-4 on the year with a 5.66 ERA.
Well, Ralston, the scouting report for him, 88-92 with his fastball. He must miss down because of his tall stature and his over-the-top delivery. He's going to be up or down, not so much side to side. So the high five, he's going to have to keep it downhill, especially against the top 5 in this lineup.
Here is the lineup for John Anderson's Gophers. Exactly as it was drawn up last night. Toby Hansen in the 9-hole, 5 for 7, 2 runs and an RBI. Ben Mazinga, 375 on the year. Number 1 is on deck. You're going to see Luke Pedersen in the batter's box first. The senior from Minnetonka, Minnesota, takes a strike on the outside corner from Ralston. Pedersen 1 for 5 with an RBI on Friday. Went hitless last night. He's been in the leadoff spot all year for John Anderson. And we see a lot of consistency about this Gopher team this year, which won the Big Ten regular season and the Big Ten tournament.
Well, they are strong 1 through 9 in this lineup, very consistent with their lineup. Not many changes, justifiably so.
Inside out swing, trying to dump it into left field is Pedersen, and he will. Thought about second, big turn. He'll be satisfied with a leadoff single. The Gophers are in business right away here in the first inning.
Again, a strong fastball on the inside part of the plate, and Pedersen does have a knack for letting the ball travel in his stance. Just does not get his hands through the ball, but finds an open area out in left field. He's been the table setter all season long. It's a good start for the Gophers.
That's the 24th hit in the national tournament for the Gophers. An offense that hasn't been shut out since April 17th of 2017. You talk about consistency. These guys know how to drive in runs, and they're going to get a guy to second base. Daniel Rosica has to chase on the first pitch to Mazinga. It's going to be ruled a wild pitch.
And I look at Ralston on the mound, and he's a guy that's really not expected to go deep in this game, maybe 5 innings max. But those kind of miscues against a team like the Gophers will make it a tough outing. I think he had a little bit of a herky-jerky movement we saw last night with Petway.
He does have a similar delivery to Zach Petway.
Very similar, and I think it's a benefit to the Gophers lineup that they got a chance to see Petway, not just last night, but also earlier this season. Makes him a little bit more comfortable in the batter's box.
Ben Mazinga 2 for 8 with a run batted in, hitting .375 on the year. The 2-0 pitch. Slice foul. Yeah, this is the 3rd meeting between UCLA and Minnesota this year. They met at US Bank Stadium way back in early March in the DQ Classic. one of the 13 total games at US Bank Stadium for Minnesota this year. Some of it because of the weather that we had this spring here in the Twin Cities, and also because they schedule a lot of home games indoors ahead of time. They only played 9 regular season games at Siebert Field during the year.
A lot of weather issues. They were fortunate enough to have US Bank Stadium available to them at times. They've had to move around, actually had to play a conference game at another school at Purdue.
2-2 to Mazenga. Waits on the breaking ball. Bouncer to the second baseman, charging, and Strumpf with a great throw. Gets Mazenga. Pedersen goes to third on the play. 1 out. Minnesota at home this season. They went 8-5 at the Vikings Stadium, US Bank Stadium. 2-0 at Target Field where the Twins play. And they went 9-2 here, including the 2 wins here so far this weekend. One out for Vavra. First team All Big Ten and an All-American from Menominee, Wisconsin. They are suggesting he will be taken anywhere from the 3rd to the 8th round next week. Lined to right field. Over the wall for a double. And we're tied at 1. Man, this guy continues to deliver.
He is a true talent. Lefty bat, strong infielder, very athletic, good speed, and just tattoos this fastball on the inside part of the plate for the RBI double.
He has such a professional approach.
He doesn't seem overmatched at all at any time, doesn't seem to get outside of himself. Has a plan and executes it in great fashion.
And that'll bring up Eli Wilson. The Minnesota catcher 2 for 9 in the regional, with a couple of runs batted in. He had a big hit in the 8th inning last night against UCLA as he takes a breaking ball for a strike. He drove in Vavra to make the game 2-2 in the 8th. Then Vavra set the table again in the 10th, and Coffey drove him in. That would prove to be the game winner. Vavra at second base. 1 out. The 0-1 pitch.
Well, Eli's really elevated himself offensively over the last year. He's been solid behind the plate, still growing, just a sophomore, but in the batter's box, he's come leaps and bounds since 2017. Elevated up into that 4-hole. Ultimately, Toby Hansen, who'll bat 9th, was the cleanup hitter. Eli has assumed that role and done a nice job all season long.
Eli's dad, Dan, is a great player here at the University of Minnesota. And Taron Vavra, who's standing at second base, his dad, the former hitting coach of the Minnesota Twins, now on the staff of the Detroit Tigers, reuniting with Ron Gardenhire. Swung on and missed. It's 1-2. Vavra used to help his dad at Target Field when he was working with the Twins. He was picking up bats and balls in the cage, helping out guys like Jim Thome and Justin Morneau. Talk about an internship.
I know. Just being around it. You know what? There's a lot to be said for kids that can be around the game of baseball, around good quality baseball players. Learn so much.
That was well fouled, but you saw Ryan Kreidler shielding his eyes. Sun's going to be a problem on that side of the field.
Yeah, we haven't had that problem was a little bit of an overcast, and then obviously yesterday with the weather during this time of the day. Actually, that line drive hit to Mazanga out in left field. It was a little tricky for him to make that play earlier as well. We're going to keep an eye on that one.
UCLA defense fielding .981, sixth best in the country. Two balls and two strikes to Eli Wilson. Struck him out. Wilson chased it up. 2 down.
That's a good pitch from Ralston here. An elevated fastball. Eli just can't let go. Well out of the zone. A little too aggressive there. No chance to catch up to that one.
Now the hero from last night, Micah Coffey. The winner of this year's Big Ten Sportsmanship Award, Micah Coffey. And he swings at the first pitch. Backhanded by Kreidler at third. Low throw, but picked by Tollier. And Minnesota is done here in the first, but we've got a tie game now at 1. Taran Vavra with his 4th run batted in of the tournament. I hope they're watching another college baseball game on their phones on bases loaded, because if they're not,
shame on them.
Yeah, shame on them. The ESPN networks bring you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with our regional coverage this weekend on ESPN2, the U, SEC Network, and E3. Whip around coverage also available through ESPN3 and the Bases Loaded channel. All coverage available on the app. They sold tickets for that berm out in left center for the first time this year. For the first time ever here at Siebert Field, because they had to. They needed the room. A lot of demand for tickets here this weekend. Alongside former Iowa Hawkeye Danon Hughes, I'm Clay Matvick. You've been in enemy territory here the last few days. How have the Minnesota folks been treating you?
Oh, they treat me well. I've been up here several times. They do tell me about my snow angel from time to time. They don't hold it against me.
Jack Stronach leads off the UCLA second with the ringing single to right. That was in 1991, right?
Yes.
Your catch against the Gophers, touchdown grab. And that snow game.
Yeah, snow game at Kinnick Stadium. Last game of the season, right after Thanksgiving. Can you tell I'm holding back some trash talk right now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Everything's right inside me. It usually just comes spewing out, but.
Now, you played baseball as well at Iowa.
Yes.
How were you against the Gophers?
We never beat the Gophers in a series. They were strong. They still are strong. And you've heard me all weekend long talk about just how much in awe I am of John Anderson and how well he's coached this program for so long. But they've always been a top shelf program. And, you know, we never fared very well against him.
He's been here for 37 years. Winningest coach in Big Ten history. Ball and a strike to Daniel Amaral, the UCLA center fielder.
Amaral's had a slow regionals so far. Got things going last game. As we see John Anderson.
Here's 14. Big Ten Coach of the Year for the 8th time. Stevenson with a pickoff play last inning. Got Kendall leaning. Trying to do the same thing with Stronach.
1,287 wins.
That?
Not games, wins. Amazing.
But he has never won one of these, a regional. And so tonight could be special for Anderson and the Gopher program.
I think that's why you get the turnout that you have here. Is
no doubt.
The fans realize that.
There's a bunt by Amaral trying to move the runner along. He gets it done. Stronach to second, one away from Mitchell.
Nice adjustment by Stevenson on that ball hit back to him. A good bunt to move the runner over.
Garrett Mitchell comes up now. 5'2" athlete, a freshman from Orange, California. One of the country's top recruits coming out of high school, and decided to come to Westwood after being drafted in the 14th round by the Oakland A's.
I think he has a huge upside, has a big body, 6'3", 200. Can play third base, came in as a shortstop, a strong arm. Gonna have to work on his bat just a bit.
I like how Greg Street, the home plate umpire, calls balls and strikes. There is no question on what it is. Garrett Mitchell, 3 for 11 in the tournament, 4 runs batted in. You see Greg Street. Line drive, base hit. Stronach being waved around. Here comes the throw. Cut off by Vavra. And UCLA goes back in front by a run. RBI single for Garrett Mitchell, his 5th run batted in of the tournament.
He got started relatively slow, but fastball on the outside part of the plate. A nice job just poking it out into left center field. A little bit surprised that Boxwell has a strong arm. Opted to hit his cutoff in the infield. Vavra could have had a chance at home.
Early in the game, perhaps they feel like their offense is going to be just fine and they're more worried about keeping the runner at first. First pitch swinging is Kreidler. Ryan Kreidler, 1 for 10 here in Minneapolis this weekend. He's in the 8 hole and playing third base again. 222 on the year, 3 homers, 34 runs batted in.
Well, Kreidler is a stud at third base. Good strong arm. Still has to grow in the batter's box though.
First Super Regional tickets are going to be punched tonight. Maybe as many as 14 teams advancing to next weekend. Minnesota would do that with a win here tonight. But UCLA has gone back in front. And they might get another base hit. They do. Kreidler dumps it over the head of Vavra. Mitchell stops at second.
Not a bad job here. Fastball on the hands. Gets his hands inside the ball. Just has enough strength to punch it out in the left center field. And again, what we're seeing from the Bruins is an aggressive approach. We saw this last night against Patrick Fredrickson. It worked out well early for them. Kind of put the Gophers on their heels.
Third hit for UCLA. 2 on, 1 out. A run already in this inning for UCLA. Now Rosica, number 9 in the order, behind the plate again tonight. Rosica's 2 for 8.
I think the lesson was learned in taking Rosica out of the game. He messed around with that against Gonzaga in game 1 of this regionals. Rosica, one of the better bunters on the team, with 1 out here. Not sure he would employ dropping down a bunt, but if so, he can push it towards second base. And if he can get it past Stevenson, it'll be a bunt for a single.
Minnesota's bullpen is active. Right-handed throwing senior Jackson Rose, he's number 37, and freshman lefty Ryan Duffy getting loose.
Minnesota has not had to go deep into their bullpen. Have a lot of healthy arms, strong arms ready to go in this game if they need them.
Hit hard. Boy, that almost gobbled up Vavra. What a play. 2. Holy cow. Taron Vavra, that's why he'll be drafted next week. Starts a 6-4-3 double play. And UCLA will only get 1 in the second. Taron Vavra with a runner shielding him and battling the sun as well, gets a double play for Minnesota. Had a run in every half inning so far. UCLA 2, Minnesota ready to come back up. In the bottom of the second, they put one on the board. How about the play by Taron Bobber?
Not many shortstops can make this play. The awareness of where it was, the tough bounce, and then be able to turn the 6-4-3 double play. That's your All-American.
And to fight a base runner, the glare. And he knew he didn't have a ton of time to start that double play.
We've seen some diving plays out in the outfield, some good strong throws home. That's my vote for the defensive play of this regionals.
Cole McDevitt leads it off, followed by Boxwell and Kozicki for Minnesota against Jack Ralston, the redshirt sophomore right-hander. Cole McDevitt is at first base again tonight. He caught several games behind the plate before moving to first base this year. And some hip problems that forced him to first. Again, that sun coming into play, but Idens handles it like a pro. One down. Come on, you guys, you're from California. Don't shake your head.
They should be used to this.
That's the Sunshine State. I know Florida's the Sunshine State,
yeah.
But they get a ton of sun in Southern California, so it shouldn't be a problem. .981 fielding percentage for UCLA, 6th in the country coming into the night. These guys don't beat themselves.
You know what's interesting from an outfielder's perspective? I know a lot is made about the sun and how you use your offhand and glove hand as an extra shield of the sun. There are times where a cloudy sky is a little bit more difficult than the sun to pick up baseballs. The balls get scuffed up. If it's not a brand new ball, you think about a gray sky with a scuffed up baseball can be tough. These guys are making it look easy though.
Alex Boxwell, the senior from Coon Rapids, Minnesota, with a solo home run last night. He's 2 for 8 in the regional.
We talked about Ralston and his control issues, and he's going to be up and down, and we noticed so far in this game he's either up in the zone or down in the zone, not much in and out.
Walked him. This was Boxwell's homer yesterday. You know, we have seen a lot of home runs in this tournament. There have been about 177 home runs hit so far. Now, that was the nugget I got here a few minutes ago. There may have been more since then, but 177 home runs in the national tournament this year. And a third of them have come from 3 sites: Fayetteville, Gainesville, and Athens, all SEC locations. We haven't seen a ton of home runs here in Minnesota this week.
Nope, just 3. We've seen more ground rule doubles than we've seen home runs.
So Boxwell is on, a 1-out walk, and Kozicki is up.
And this is when things can get a little testy for Rosica behind the plate. Because Ralston is going to be high or low, it's going to make it pretty tough for him to be able to control the running game for the Golden Gophers if they opt to start getting moving on the base paths.
.25 pitches, 13 have been out of the strike zone for Ralston. Runner goes, pitches inside. Rosica's throw is going to go into center field. Boxwell didn't have time to get up and run. Stolen base for Alex Boxwell.
Gets a good jump from first base, a ball on the inside part of the plate, and you can see the movement by Rosie behind the plate. Just airmails it.
21st stolen base of the year for Boxwell. Leads the Gophers. Up and in to Jordan Kozicki. 3-0.
It's been up and down. Can't imagine there being a long leash for Ralston in this game.
And the bullpen is active for UCLA. Nick Scheidler, left-hander, is warming up. Walked him. Back-to-back walks allowed by Ralston. And Toby Hansen, not your prototypical 9-hole hitter, coming up.
Well, we see activity in the bullpen for the Bruins. As you mentioned, Toby Hansen, not the prototypical 9-hole hitter. In this regional, he's batting .714, leading all players.
Eight straight out of the strike zone for Ralston. And here's Hansen, who is 5 for 7 with a run batted in.
This is almost unfair to opponents to have a former cleanup hitter back in the lineup after injuries, batting 9th.
Elbow surgery last summer, missed 10 games this year with a hamate bone injury. Spent some time nursing a bad back, but he's feeling pretty good now. We've seen that for sure at the plate. Hasn't played the field yet. He's been getting it done with the bat. 2 on, 1 out for Hansen. He swings at the first pitch, lifts it high and deep to left center. Goodbye, home run. And Minnesota leads it 4-2.
Well, you want to see bottom of the lineup production. You don't expect your 9-hole to have the kind of power and pop as Toby Hansen. Fastball down in, right in his wheelhouse. And he knows it as soon as it left his bat.
Second home run of the year for Toby Hansen. And it's a big one. Gives Minnesota its first lead here tonight as John Savage comes out. Scheidler was warming up. He hasn't been given the call yet. Toby Hansen from Delano, Minnesota, a senior in this program. One of the 20 Minnesota natives on the roster. And UCLA will make a pitching change here in the second.
Tough decision, but smart decision for John Savage. Get into the bullpen with the home team, getting the fans energized. Got to be careful not to allow this game to get too far away from you too early.
Minnesota can wrap up a ticket to the Super Regionals with a win tonight. The winner of this regional plays the winner of the Corvallis Regional. LSU kept its season alive earlier today, beating Northwestern State 9-5. But the Tigers have to beat Oregon State twice now to advance to the Supers. Oregon State, the number 3 national seed. Last night, LSU lost big to Oregon State, 14-1. That 13-run loss, its second largest in its 215 NCAA tournament games to that point. We'll see how the Tigers do against the Beavers tonight. New pitcher. This is Nick Scheidler.
The sophomore southpaw is going to have his hands full with this lineup, but a lot of confidence going into him and not going to be overpowering. 82-85 with his fastball. Usually a 1-inning, 2-inning guy, middle game matchup kind of pitcher, but not in this situation. They need him to eat up a few innings here and quiet the bats down for the Gophers.
His 37th appearance, a team high. John Savage shaking his head a little bit as he was hoping not to have to go to his bullpen too early. And again, we talked about this during the UCLA Gonzaga game earlier this afternoon, Dana. John Savage was forced to go to his bullpen a couple of times when he probably would rather not have, and especially when he was forced to use his closer, Holden Powell. So he has pitched already today. It sounds like he would be available later today if they need him.
Yeah, I think you still obviously have to have all arms on deck, but you know, the trickier situation, I think it's pretty much the same for a lot of teams, is when you get into that third and fourth starter, you start mixing in midweek guys in this environment with this much on the line. You never know what can happen.
Back to the top of the order in Pedersen.
Kind of a wild card situation. Stevenson for the Gophers and Ralston initially for the Bruins. You just never know.
Left on left. Pedersen takes a strike. He's behind in the count, 0-2. He singled and scored the Gophers' first run in the first inning. Holden Powell, by the way, the UCLA closer, pitched an inning and a third earlier today against Gonzaga through a total of 19 pitches. Pedersen reaches out, pulls it to Strumpf, and he is the second out. Now Ben Mazenga comes up for Minnesota.
Going back to John Savage making the move to Scheidler. Left-hander, you got 6 lefty bats in the lineup for the Gophers. But not a matchup situation necessarily. He's looking to go deep into this game.
Scheidler will pound the strike zone. You saw the stats, 32 strikeouts in 32 2/3 before tonight.
Has a nasty slider to go along with that fastball.
Outside to Ben Mazenga. Grounded out to second, his only time up. Junior from Shoreview, Minnesota, second team All Big Ten. Every year this guy has improved. Came into tonight with a .375 average. He's been in the top 50 or so in average in the country most of the year. And he's had a 10-game hitting streak. And on the hands, soft line drive caught by Strumpf. And the side is out. So Minnesota done in the second. But a lot of damage done. Toby Hansen, a 3-run homer, his second of the year. Minnesota leads it 4-2. Minnesota 4, UCLA 2. We go to the top of the third inning. A lot of maroon and gold. Colors being displayed proudly here in Minneapolis this weekend on a windy night at Siebert Field. Jeremy Idens leading it off. The top of the UCLA order 1, 2, and 3. Idens, Kendall, and Strumpf. Two runs on 3 hits for the Bruins. They've already had as much offensive production tonight against Minnesota as they had all of last night. Idens reached on an error and came around to score the first run for the Bruins earlier tonight. 1-2 on a breaking ball strike from Stevenson. Now 2-2.
Well, this is a key stretch for Stevenson. He's coming second time through the lineup for the Bruins. Probably a short leash by John Anderson and Ty McDevitt. Don't want to open up the door again for the Bruins.
And it skips to the backstop. 3-2. Jackson Rose is loose, it appears, and ready to go in the Minnesota bullpen. You can see him off in the distance behind Stevenson.
It just seems that Stevenson gets moving so fast, doesn't store enough power on his backside. When he starts his motion, everything's going so quickly.
Walked him. Leadoff man is on here in the UCLA third. For more coverage of the Division I baseball regionals and interactive brackets, go to NCAA.com. Several elimination games going on right now. There's John Anderson. He's at the top step of the dugout, but stays with Stevenson, who gives up a big shot to left, has a chance off the wall for Kendall. Iden stops at third. 2 on, nobody out. Like you said, the leash is very short for Stevenson.
Well, you don't normally see John Anderson at the top of the steps. You wonder if you can get motivated with that kind of presence there, but this is a nice job by Kevin Kendall. After a walk, you have to feel like there's going to be a grooved fastball, and he's ready for it right off the fence. No chance for Mazanga to make the play. Another extra base hit for the Bruins.
4th hit of the tournament for Kendall. And here is Ty McDevitt, the Minnesota pitching coach. Iden's reached on a walk, Kendall with the double, and Strumpf, who has 7 hits in the regional, at the plate now.
Well, if they leave him in this situation, there has to be a conference about how they plan to pitch to Strumpf. They're going to stay with him. And this may be a situation where you're careful about pitching around him, okay with a possible walk.
How do you pitch to Strumpf to get him out?
I think you definitely don't want to leave anything out over the plate. We've seen him use his power to right center and left center. So you have to pound the zone on the inside, hope to get something on his hands, and then use that breaking ball and off speed down and away.
.363 average, 12 homers on the year. First pitch to Strumpf in the dirt. That was the 4th hit of the night for UCLA against Stevenson. Stevenson has only 1 outing this year of more than 5 innings. That's when he pitched against Michigan State in the regular season finale. He went 5 2/3. So he hasn't been known to go deep in games anyway. But now he's really having trouble here in the 3rd inning, and in a dangerous spot of the UCLA order.
Very dangerous indeed. And also remember, Eli Wilson calls all the pitches behind the plate, so there's no input from John Anderson or Ty McDevitt on the bench. It's just between pitcher and catcher.
The 2-0. 3-0. And Tolia licking his chops on deck.
Well, if you have to be careful with Strumpf, you have to be absolutely extra careful with Tolia if he gets on base with bases loaded, or gets into the batter's box with bases loaded.
Crowd spurring Jake Stevenson. Strike on the outside corner. Walked him, bases loaded. And the UCLA cleanup hitter, Michael Toglia, coming up. He's already driven in 1 run tonight.
This is a tough inning for Stevenson. 4 of those 5 pitches, well out of his own, 3 down in the dirt.
And that's it. John Anderson's coming out. Pitching change here in Minnesota. Stevenson leaves. Rose comes in. He's got the bases loaded when we come back. Jackson Rose comes in for Minnesota out of the Gopher bullpen. He inherits a ticklish spot. Bases loaded, nobody out, and the UCLA cleanup hitter is at the plate. Rose is from Omaha, Nebraska, hoping to help his team get to Omaha. He's got to get out of the third first.
Definitely not the gift that you would want to have if you're Jackson Rose, but he'll have to get out there and compete. You see his numbers there. Can get 90 to 93 with that fastball, has very good command, and can throw strikes with his curveball. And I'm sure we'll see a healthy dose of that.
Toglia with an RBI sac fly tonight. He's the first guy up there to face Rose. Stevenson walked the leadoff man Idens. He's at third. Kendall at second after a double. Strumpf also walked. He's at first. (4-2) Minnesota, top of the third. Gophers win, they're under the Supers. UCLA wins, we're back here tomorrow night. Infield at double play depth. As Rose misses down and in.
See the defensive positioning, especially in the outfield. That's as deep as we've seen all weekend long. The wind blowing out. Ball will carry just a bit. They recognize the power by Toglia.
1-1. Toglia is going to play in the Cape again next summer, this coming summer. In a good year there last year from Gig Harbor, just south of Seattle. Knocked down by Wilson. We told you that tickets were hard to come by here at Siebert Field. Some people didn't buy tickets. They're just looking from a building off in the distance. It's just been a great week here in Minneapolis. 2-1 to Toglia. Popped up. Vavra shielding the sun, going back, called off, and it's dropped. Mazinga can't make the play. Idens comes in, and it's 4-3. The wind and the sun made that a challenging play, and ultimately the Gophers can't get the out.
Another miscue by the Gophers, and I'll go back to my previous point. The outfield playing relatively deep, recognizing because of the elements and the power. Takes a long time for Mazinga first to pick up the ball. He's coming in full speed. There's no chance that Vavra could make that play. It'd have to be either Mazinga or Boxwell. Gets in his glove, pops out. A big break for the Bruins.
It's ruled an RBI hit for Toglia. The ball that looked routine looked like a routine pop-up on the infield. And now UCLA has a run in each of the first 3 innings. And they're not done yet here in the 3rd. Nobody out. And Jack Stronach up at the plate. He has a single and a run scored. Mazenga with the sunglasses. That's still not enough to shield the sun. He's putting his arm up. He's got his hat pulled down tight.
And what that does for an outfielder is it forces you to freeze just a bit. You're going to freeze at times as an outfielder, especially if it's a line drive. But more times than not, if this is an evening game or early morning game, Mazenga makes that play because he has so much speed. But because of the sun right in his eyes, initially the ball off the bat, he's going to respect it just a little bit longer and not get the same type of jump.
And that wind is really howling out to left center field now. The 0-2. Ground ball. Slowly hit. They go for the force at second as a run crosses home plate. And we're tied at 4. Tolia is out on the force. As Kendall scores.
Number 25, Daniel Emerald.
And we're even as Emerald comes to the plate. Emerald with a sacrifice. Then Garrett Mitchell came up one batter later and drove in Stronach. That was in the 2nd inning. Way outside for Rose. Rose in relief of Jake Stevenson. Went 2 innings tonight, loaded the bases here in the 3rd, and 2 of those runners he put on have scored.
If you're Rose, you're looking for a ground ball double play here, but not an easy double play with Emerald, who does run very well. Would not be surprised to see Stronach try to swipe second base.
Tough play. Kazuki didn't see it right away. Drops in front of him. Now he overruns the ball. And UCLA goes in front 5-4.
Really no chance for Kazuki to get to this ball in the air. No excuse for the ball getting under his glove. Just see the shadows on the field. The sun is a factor, but right there, there's really no chance. He's playing so deep in right field.
If this were a football game and I were the coach, this is where you want to call a timeout.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's just talk this over.
Settle down, relax. There's not much that can be done.
And the Gophers don't have that luxury. Here we go now with Garrett Mitchell's at bat. The first pitch misses. A 3-run inning for UCLA. They have taken the lead back, 5-4. They have 6 hits now. Minnesota looking for their 2nd double play of the night. Mitchell 1 for 1 with an RBI in the 2nd.
Looking at Jackson Rose on the mound, looks like he's overthrowing just a bit, maybe pressing, trying too hard. Body moving around on the mound. Go out of control.
Hit well to left. Going to be a tough play again for Mazenga. Makes the catch this time. Quickly gets it back in. 2 down. But that was well struck by Mitchell. Zinga with a little smile on his face.
Good quality swings by the Bruins throughout this game. A couple of balls have been missed, fisted down to second base in the right field for the most part. These guys are sitting fastball and getting some good cuts on them.
2 outs for Kreidler. Kreidler has one of UCLA's 6 hits, as they have scored 1 in the first, 1 in the second, and 3 here in the third. Trying to extend their season to tomorrow night. Minnesota in the quote-unquote catbird seat. 2-0 here in the regional.
But you kind of wonder who has more pressure in these situations, especially, you know, with the pitching as it is. You feel like Minnesota feels more relaxed because they are 2-0. Or on the other hand, do you feel like the Bruins are, hey, we're do or die. We've been down this road earlier today.
They've already got a win under their belt today. Feeling loose, perhaps.
Swinging the bats much better.
They have scored 15 runs today on 19 hits. That's up. A ball and a strike. Kreidler, the 8th man to come to the plate here in the third inning. .38 wins on the year for UCLA under John Savage, a guy that knows how to get to national tournaments. This is the 11th for John. He's been to 4 Super Regionals, 3 College World Series appearances, and of course a national championship. Breaking ball, and Rose wants to know why it wasn't called a strike.
That's a good pitch from Rose. Looked like Kreidler tried to wear this pitch. You see the last little movement right there. Tried to stick that elbow out, but that should not affect that strike call. That's a good pitch.
Two one. 3-1. This will be the 29th pitch this inning for Gopher pitchers. And the Gophers get out of the inning as Kreidler lines it to Coffey. But they get 3. And UCLA knocks the Gophers starter out of the game too. Welcome back to Minneapolis and the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. Alongside former Iowa Hawkeye 2 Sports star Danon Hughes, I'm Clay Matvick. I hope you're enjoying the telecast here tonight. UCLA leading 5-4 over the number 14 national seed Minnesota. As we go to the bottom of the third inning, Minnesota with a win would move on to the Supers. UCLA hopes we're back here tomorrow night for a deciding 7th game in the regional. Taron Vavra at the plate for Minnesota. He had an RBI double in the first. He has 6 hits in 11 at-bats the last 3 days. On top of what he has done at the plate, he has been terrific in the field. We saw him turn a terrific double play, and he's got another base hit.
Absolutely dialed in. The junior shortstop All-American playing up to that status.
He is reaping the benefits of his first healthy season. Up to now in 2018, he really hasn't been completely healthy as a Gopher.
You haven't been able to see his full potential maximized, but right now you are, and he's making himself some money.
No doubt.
I know you mentioned earlier 3rd through 8th round. It's going to be a little closer to the 3rd round, I believe, especially if scouts see that last defensive play made at shortstop.
Eli Wilson up there now. He had a stress fracture in his back during his freshman season, which lingered into his sophomore year. And that's all behind him now. But like I said, he never was completely healthy the last 2 years. Sika pounces on it. Vavra has to stay put. Wilson struck out in the first.
Conversation with Rosie and his pitcher there, just making sure they're on the right page, and Vavra missed an opportunity to scamper to second base there. And that's a tough play to read. That's a tough ball to read. You read it down into the turf, but you don't know when, especially when it's moving up the first base line, how close it is to the catcher. If you don't get a good secondary lead, you don't want to take the risk.
Big swing by Wilson. 2-1. Eli Wilson was a hockey player, ran some cross country. Really didn't get serious about baseball until his senior year of high school. Came to Minnesota as an infielder, and like his dad, has become a very good catcher at the University of Minnesota. Vavra chased back to first.
That's an interesting story about Eli. His upbringing, you'd think that just like Terran Vavra being around baseball, his life being around his dad, that he would just gravitate to it. And you give credit to Dan and his wife for not forcing him into it. You would think, you know, in that situation, you got to develop the love of the game on your own.
For those of you tuning in Southern California, that is not snow here in Minnesota. It's puffs from the cottonwood trees. It's allergy season.
Yes.
Here in the Twin Cities. It's been a bad winter, though. Bad spring, weather-wise, for these Golden Gophers especially. Which makes it all the more remarkable that they're hosting a regional for the first time since 2000. Probably the worst winter in about 15 years. But the Gophers had the luxury of being able to play inside at US Bank Stadium. Get a lot of their home games in. And they were able to be consistent throughout Big Ten play because of that. Nick Scheidler's pitch caught the outside corner. And it's now 3-2. Scheidler on in relief of Jack Ralston. He came on with 1 out in the second inning. Terran Vavra is not slow, that's for sure. Not the best base stealer that Minnesota has. 8 of 9 on the year.
Scheidler from that left-handed side, you would think he would have a solid move, but because he opens up that front side, it's an easy tell for a base runner.
Vavra was off with the pitch. It's ball 4 to Wilson. 2 on, nobody out.
The third baseman, number 8, Micah Coffey.
And here's the hero from last night, Micah Coffey. One of the 4 seniors who has played in an NCAA tournament before for Minnesota. He was on that 2016 team that played down at College Station. Daniel Rosica out from behind home plate to flash the signs to the infield.
Coffey in his last at bat hit a laser down at third base. Nice play made by Kreidler. This may be a situation where he'll drop a bunt down.
And he does. Foul. John Savage has told the bullpen to get going again. It's Michael Townsend down there, freshman right-hander, getting loose. Coffey's 0 for 1.
Now look at the defensive positioning. Because you have Tolia at first base crashing, a deep third base by Kreidler, they're looking to get the lead run of Vavra at third base. Unless it's a hard bunted ball down the third base line.
It is. UCLA's got one play, it's to first. Boy, Coffey, such a leader for this Gopher team. Got the game-winning RBI last night. Nice sacrifice here in the third inning. One down, runners at second and third for Minnesota.
Well, if you're John Anderson, there's no better guy you want in that position to drop down a sacrifice bunt, sacrifice himself in the box. And you have the confidence that he can get the job done.
LSU and Oregon State getting ready to get underway in Corvallis, the regional title round. It's going to be on ESPNU tonight. Oregon State can wrap it up tonight. LSU hoping to force a 7th game tomorrow, like these Bruins are trying to force with Minnesota. UCLA leads it by 1. And Minnesota threatening again here in the third inning. McDevitt lined out to the left fielder his first time up.
Hit the ball hard, and if I'm Cole McDevitt right now, I'm looking for that fastball in the inner half of the plate, just because that ball was tracked down by Idens in left field. I think that's where his power alley is. He did hit a home run yesterday over the right field wall with the wind helping it.
Rosica with a nice block.
Rosica has worked overtime behind the plate. Been challenged a lot with balls in the dirt. Really has done a nice job defensively. That's the exact reason they have him back there.
It's been a long day for these UCLA Bruins. Beat Gonzaga earlier to keep their season alive. Swung on and missed by McDevitt. Now it's 2-2. Is fatigue a factor for UCLA, or are they going on pure adrenaline?
I think it's adrenaline. They obviously want to play tomorrow. It's imperative for their season that they get a chance to carry this game into Monday. But let's not forget, I mean, these guys play double headers all the time. They grow up in travel ball, play 2 and 3 games a day.
The 2-2 to the Minnesota first baseman. Breaking ball hit well to left. Deep, going back is Idens, makes the catch in front of the wall. Tagging is Vavra, into third is Wilson, and we're tied again at 5.
Well, I said McDevitt would tag the ball to left field. Thought it might be a fastball. This is a curveball down and in. Good smart base running at the bottom of the screen by Vavra. Cruises in. A little roll of the dice there by Eli getting to third base, especially with 2 outs.
With the wind, I thought that was out.
Yeah.
And it nearly was, but Idens battling the wind and the sun, used his speed, got to the base of the wall and made the catch. And now Boxwell will hit. Scheidler works ahead. Boxwell had a solo home run last night. He's got 5 on the year. He walked his first time up today. Lifted out of play, 2 strikes.
Boxwell does have good speed now with 2 strikes. Going to try to shorten up his swing. And even though Kendall is very strong at shortstop, Clay, if he gets a slow 2-hopper to shortstop, that's not an automatic out for Boxwell at first base. He can fly.
This UCLA bullpen has been so good this year. Like you said, John Savage needs Scheidler to chew up as many innings as he can tonight. The 0-2. The breaking ball is spun out of play by Boxwell. 3 relievers for UCLA, Danon, have more than 30 appearances. And John Savage is such a master at working a pitching staff, using his bullpen, knowing when guys can help him, when it's time to take guys out. He's counting on Scheidler now. One and 2. Here's John Savage. He was the head coach of the U.S. Collegiate National Team last year. In the 20 games the national team played, he coached them to 15 wins. Great baseball man.
Oh, yeah. Great baseball mind. Knows how to influence these young men to play the game the right way, defensively and pitching. And offensively, it's come around. He's at the top of the list as far as guys that know the game. We've been very fortunate in this regional to have Mark Machtoff and John Savage and John Anderson.
This one is hit a mile high up into that jet stream, and it's going to carry out. Goodbye, home run. Alex Boxwell with a 2-run shot. And Minnesota now leads at 7-5.
I thought Boxwell was a sitting duck for a good, strong fastball from Scheidler. He had swung at about 4 or 5 different curveballs in that at-bat. Gets another one right here. That's a pretty swing. Good and balanced. Strong up in the jet stream, over the wall, right center field.
Second home run of the tournament for Boxwell. And Minnesota reclaims the lead here in the Twin Cities. I think on a windless night, that's a routine fly ball.
Yeah.
I really do think that the wind carried that out, because that was hit a long way up in the air.
But I will say, and probably Amaral out in center field would track it down, but without the wind, these guys would be a little bit closer, playing a little shallow to the infield, so he would have had to cover a lot of real estate to get to it. I'd bet without the wind, that's probably a 1-hopper to the wall.
Scheidler is out as John Savage makes a move. If Minnesota can win this, they'll be on to the Super Regional round. And maybe Minnesota could end up hosting a Super if LSU can somehow figure out a way to beat Oregon State twice. If Minnesota can hold on and win. The ESPN networks bring you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with our regional coverage this weekend. ESPN2, ESPNU, the SEC network, and ESPN3. Whipper-on coverage is also available through ESPN3 and the Bases Loaded channel. Clay Matvick, Dana Hughes here at Siebert Field on the campus of the University of Minnesota. Michael Townsend comes in now, freshman right-hander for the Bruins.
Well, the freshman has a tall task ahead of him. You see his number not used very often, just 8th appearance on the season. 7 1/3 innings pitched. He's given up 5 hits. But as you mentioned, that's the test of each team at this juncture of the regional.
Right.
Going deep into the bullpen, some unused arms, and trying to get the most out of them, even for a short period of time.
4th lead change of the game. And the Gopher fans on their feet. They had 2,300 here last night. About 2,200 on Friday night. I think the crowd here this evening might top both of those crowds.
It's a great baseball atmosphere. I mean, you're not going to have the 6,000 and 7,000 peoples in the stands, but they're involved in every pitch, every swing. They love the Gophers. Got some UCLA fans here as well. It's been a fun atmosphere all weekend.
It sure has. Jordan Kozaki at the plate, a walk and a run scored. The second home run of the night for Minnesota from Alex Boxwell, making it 7-5.
We've had, what, 4 home runs in this regional, and 3 of them from the Gophers.
This one's popped up, and it's going to get into the Minnesota bullpen. Nothing has come easy for the pitchers tonight. A lot of long innings, a lot of battles with the hitters, a lot of runs scored, and it's probably going to be that way for the balance of this contest. Townsend gets out of the inning, but Minnesota gets 3 to regain the lead, 7-5. That man's retiring after 33 years. We'll talk to him next. Off we go to the 4th inning. Minnesota leading 7-5 over UCLA as we bring in Rob Fornacier, the Minnesota assistant coach.
Coach, you got a little bit of a heavyweight boxing match going here this evening. 2 teams obviously fully loaded. What's your assessment of how this game is going so far?
Well, Dana, the wind's blowing out, so I'm glad we have the last at bat tonight, because it could take 20 runs to win this game. I'm not sure. But, you know, the pitcher's a little shaky. You get down on the pitching staffs a little bit, and you just really have to work hard for every out.
You've been on staff at Minnesota for 33 years, but this is a special weekend. What has this meant to you in this Gopher program?
Well, this is my 17th NCAA tournament, and only the second one we've ever played at home. And, you know, it just makes a difference for the kids and their confidence and just the ability to sleep in their own bed and have their own routines, and it's just been awesome.
You're deciding to retire after the season. What led to that decision, Coach?
Well, anybody with half a brain knows that a guy with my body shouldn't wear a double-knit baseball uniform anymore. But also, you know, 39 years as a college coach, 33 here at Minnesota. I feel like it's time to turn the reins over to somebody else in terms of responsibility. And, you know, the program's in good shape, and it's been great to work here.
I know John Anderson's going to miss you. We're going to miss you, too. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Clay. Dana, thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Rob Fornacier, John Anderson's right arm for the last 3+ decades.
Well, congratulations to that man. He's been around since I was playing at Iowa, and I see him taking notes between games and before games, and I want him to go back into his vault and see what kind of negative notes he had about Dana Hughes back in the day. Just throw him curveballs. That's what it was. Just throw him curveballs. He won't hit them.
He has a scouting report on everybody. Daniel Rosica is out number 1 of the 4th. He lines out to Vavra, soft liner. And back to the top and Jeremy Idens. Rob Fornacier, a Minnesota native. John Savage. John Anderson, I should say, Minnesota native. He played for the Chief, Dick Siebert, back in the 70s. And, you know, when you talk to Rob or John about this program, you know, they still feel like they're caretakers of Chiefs program.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can tell how much respect was garnered by John Anderson for Dick Siebert before every home game, and I tweeted it out. They had the number 24 at bat before every home game. He's done that since he's taken over.
On the scoreboard?
On the scoreboard.
Yeah, they leave number 24 up there. That was Dick Siebert's number, yeah. Popped up. Idens. Skies to the second baseman, Patterson. We have not had a 1-2-3 inning. And maybe Rose is set to get one here.
For the Bruins, the shortstop, number 4, Kevin Kendall.
This is Kevin Kendall. Doubled and scored his last time up. UCLA got a great start from Ryan Garcia, the sophomore right-hander, earlier today. 6 1/3 innings without allowing a hit. And a no-no going into the 7th against the Zags. He was the winning pitcher. Ended up giving up 3 runs, but struck out 9 in 7 1/3 innings earlier today. Just the lift the Bruins needed in game 1.
What just makes me laugh is that facial expression, just watching the game, is the exact type of expression he had during those 7 innings he pitched early in the day. Just unfazed, just relaxed, enjoying the game.
Popped out a play by Kendall. I'm going to be talking with Mr. Garcia here in a little bit. And a lot, I'm sure, for the sophomore to be able to help out his team in a must-win situation and get the Bruins to the game here tonight. Inside, nearly hit him. Kendall hit by a pitch in the first inning by Jake Stevenson, and then he was promptly picked off of first base. Ground ball. Patterson to first. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Rose, the first of the game for either side. We played 3.5. It's 7-5 Minnesota. When we come back, we'll talk to Ryan Garcia. 7-5 Minnesota leads. Gophers getting ready to hit here in the bottom of the 4th. We're talking to UCLA starting pitcher from game 1 of the day for the Bruins, Ryan Garcia. Congratulations, Ryan, on a great outing today against the Zags. How did it feel?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, it felt great. We had a plan right away to go after them and, you know, to execute pitches, going pitch to pitch. And, you know, I thought I did a good job of that, and, you know, it was fun.
You went 7 1/3 innings today, but you had a no-hitter through the first 6 1/3. And when did you become aware of that?
I think
you
around
had a no-no going.
I think around the 4th or 5th inning, I was like, oh, okay, there's no hits. But I try not to think about it. You know, it's like not trying to think about the pink elephant in the room. But,
right.
Yeah, so I just try to, you know, like I said, going pitch to pitch and, you know, just trust the plan.
Well, watching you was a treat, Ryan, but I got even more of a kick out of just your calm demeanor. I mean, when you were watching the game here in the dugout, you have the same facial expression as you are now with the mic and the headset on and pitching. So, I mean, how do you keep it together in that kind of fashion?
I think I like to treat every outing the same, no matter how it's going. I think that also helps with the way I pitch too, because no matter what, like if I throw a ball and I come back and throw a strike, I like to treat that the same, and it helps me, go pitch to pitch, and throughout the game it helps me.
Well, what about the rest of your guys? Who talk about your team and guys you're close with. Obviously, you, Jake Bird, Petway really have pitched well. How have you guys meshed as far as that Friday, Saturday, Sunday rotation?
Oh, we've definitely gotten a lot closer this year. Zach, being a freshman, he's done a great job for us. And I think us as a staff are definitely close. My roommate for the past 2 years has been Kyle Mora, so we're definitely close. Close with the other sophomore pitcher, Nick Scheidler. But yeah, I think we're a tight unit as a team.
Michael Townsend's on the mound for the Bruins now. He walks the leadoff man, Toby Hansen. We're back to the top of the Gopher order now, and Luke Pedersen, who's going to lay down a bunt. It's going to be one play, and it's not in time. Pitcher covering. Townsend couldn't get there in time, and the Gophers have 2 on and nobody out. That is a tough play, Ryan. The pitcher covering on a play like that. How much do you guys work on something like this?
We work on it a lot. I mean, I think that was a great bunt. Perfect placement. I think blue runner, fast runner. Tough play, but
well,
baseball.
Your coach is coming out to argue. We're seeing the replay up here, and it looked like Pedersen beat it.
I don't have the replay, but
you're going to take our word for it, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, here's another look. We don't have instant replay review in the regional round. We'll have it again in the supers. And just by a half step, Dana, and it looked like Pedersen got there.
Yeah, pretty clear cut. Good hustle out of the box. And just like Ryan said, that's darn near a perfect bunt.
So John had his say there, and now he's back in the dugout. He's also the pitching coach for the UCLA Bruins. Describe your relationship with Coach Savage.
My relationship with him has gotten a lot better the past couple years. I was an infielder in high school, and he offered me, a spot on the roster and as a pitcher. And so he trusted me in my ability to, come out here and pitch at UCLA, and I appreciate that. And he sent me out to 2 great summer teams. I've been to Washington, and I was in Waterloo, Iowa last summer. And he's just gotten a lot closer to me and as my pitching coach. And this year especially, just a lot of trust in me, giving me the ball to be the Sunday guy.
Well, you were absolutely terrific today, and we appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
Ryan Garcia, who had a no-hitter going into the 7th earlier today in a must-win game for the Bruins, and they got that win.
He was talking my language when he said Waterloo, Iowa. I was about to ask him to see if he got any sweet corn up there.
Sweet corn?
You know about that corn up there?
Oh, yeah, we have it here in Minnesota.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about it when I was in Jersey.
There's farms in New Jersey. You just never got out to the farms, apparently.
We're the Garden State. Not where I grew up, though.
This is Ben Mazenga at the plate for Minnesota. Ryan Garcia, nice young man from Sierra Madre, California. And he's watching Michael Townsend on the mound now for UCLA, who steps off. Minnesota with a 2-run lead. They've got 2 on, nobody out here in the 4th. Great bunt. Kreidler's throws in time to get Mazenga, but he pushes the runners along. Hansen to 3rd, Pedersen to 2nd.
Well, pre-pitch, I always question Kreidler's ability to get to that bunt and get a strong throw to first base, especially with the speed of the Gophers. It was last night and again this evening. But he gets there. He covers a lot of ground and a good strong arm from that hot corner.
And now Terrin Vavra, who has 2 hits tonight, an RBI double and a single. How big were his at-bats last night against UCLA in the 8th and the 10th, and then on the first at-bat here tonight, an RBI double. I mean, he's been on a tear.
Yeah, he covers the plate so well, comfortable hitting to all fields. I think if you're in this situation, Michael Townsend's trying to pitch around Vavra. Don't challenge him on the inside part of the plate. This is a situation, Clay, where they'll be comfortable with a walk to Vavra. They have the right-handed batter, Eli Wilson, coming up.
The 2-0 from Townsend. 3-0. Vavra's older brothers Tanner and Trey both played in the Minnesota Twins system. Vavra will get drafted somewhere next week. Might be high enough to pull him away from the University of Minnesota. Certainly the way he has played here this weekend, he's made himself some money. 3-1.
Terrin Vavra has obviously that opportunity and ability to talk with his brothers and his dad, but also with John Anderson. John Anderson knows the landscape and understands what opportunities will be provided to him and will give him great tutelage.
There's the walk he talked about. And now Wilson will come up. He walked his last time to the plate. He's also been a strikeout victim. Minnesota has him loaded with 1 out here in the 4th.
Number 4, Eli Wilson.
Now, Eli Wilson likes to be aggressive early in counts. We saw earlier he went for a couple of high fastballs. He has the ability to put the ball out of the park.
The sophomore from Seattle, hitting .294 on the year, 5 homers, 35 runs batted in. Minnesota has 2 home runs here tonight, accounting for 5 of their runs driven in. Ground ball left side and through, base hit. Hansen scores. Coming around is Pedersen. He will score. 9-5 Gophers.
That's a nice job of hitting by Eli Wilson. A fastball on the inner half of the plate. Little rollover, but strong enough to punch it through the infield. No chance for Kendall at shortstop. That's the thing about these Gophers. They just keep coming at you. They don't get phased, even though UCLA had some success early.
Eli Wilson continues to be clutch this weekend. He had the game-tying RBI in the 8th inning last night. Adds to the Gopher lead here in the 4th tonight. And brings up Coffey. Coffey swinging for the down, strike 1. Vanderbilt is leading Clemson 14-6 in the top of the 8th. 2-0 in the regional. Trying to knock Clemson out. Clemson, a national seed, they could go bye-bye. We saw Florida State, a top 8 national seed, get bounced. Texas Tech leading Louisville 9-1 in the top of the 6th. That's in the Lubbock Regional. Stetson all over Oklahoma State, 11-0 in the top of the 8th. We continue to see a lot of big scores this weekend. Auburn 8-3 leading North Carolina State. The top of the 7th. Auburn 2-0. So NC State, a top 16 national seed, on the verge of getting bounced. And Oregon State has a lead now on LSU, 1-0 in the bottom of the 1st. And again, Oregon State can lock up a bid to the Supers with a win tonight over the Tigers. Line drive, base hit. Micah Coffey sends it to right. And the base is loaded again.
Another great swing by Coffey. Drives into right field. That's pretty identical to what we saw last night when he was the hero. That pitch out over the plate. He likes it a little bit elevated. Not a weak spot in this lineup.
And here comes Cole McDevitt, who has an RBI sac fly to his credit tonight. Bases loaded. 9-5 Minnesota. Rosica can't find it. Townsend helps him out as he rolls up the third base line. The guy at the plate for Minnesota, Danon.
You see, this is a fastball up and in. Actually hits the umpire on the face mask. The umpire actually saved the run for the Bruins. He clapped it off afterwards. A little miscommunication between Townsend and Rosica.
The guy at the plate, Cole McDevitt, has the only grand slam for Minnesota this year. It was at US Bank Stadium against UW Milwaukee on March the 7th. Hit him. And it's 10-5.
Well, McDevitt has been clutch all year long when the bases are loaded. Doesn't get an opportunity to swing the bat here, but he wears the pitch. Another run scored for the Gophers.
John Savage is going to make another pitching change. Minnesota has scored 3 times here in the 4th. They lead it by 5. Welcome back to Siebert Field in the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. Alongside former Iowa great Danon Hughes on Clay Matvick. With our great ESPN crew, Garrett Barker comes in for UCLA. His 3rd appearance in the regionals. And he hasn't fared very well. He walked the only batter he faced in game 1 of the tournament for UCLA against Gonzaga. The second game against Gonzaga earlier today, he faced 3 batters, gave up a run on 2 hits, and only recorded 1 out. So it's kind of where UCLA is at now from a pitching standpoint. They've got to go back to Barker. Bases loaded. And a guy that hit a 2-run homer is at the plate, Alex Boxwell.
And Barker has fared well during the season. We saw his numbers up on the screen, 1.66 ERA. Just having a rough weekend thus far. He's going to have his hands full. These Gopher batters are feeling it right now in the batter's box.
This is the home run from the third. And again, I would say I don't want to take anything away from Boxwell, but the wind helped that.
Yes, it did.
Very strong wind out to center field tonight. But he got it up in the air, and if you can do that tonight, you get a good chance to get it out.
Well, that last swing, he was trying to put that ball out to TCF Bank Stadium without the wind help. Good aggressive swing.
Second home run of the tournament for Boxwell. He's got 6 on the year. Boxwell, according to John Anderson, has really settled down and is just having fun. He's not putting too much pressure on himself here in his senior year as he had been doing in the past.
And that's the key, to find that kind of happy medium where you can be aggressive, have fun, compete, but still maximize your talents.
Down the line, off the glove of Tolia. 1 runner's in. 2 runs will score. As the UCLA first baseman tried to make the play on the backhand, it scoots off his glove into foul territory, and it's now 12-5 Golden Gophers.
It's a tough break for Tolia over here. Not sure he would have still had a play. Boxwell runs extremely well. Glances off his glove, 2 runs scored. Nice job by the first base ump getting out of the way.
McDevitt goes to third on the plate. Boxwell at second with a 2-run double. And the 9th man to hit this inning for Minnesota, Jordan Kozuki, comes up. This might score another one for the Gophers. It does. Off the glove of Rosica. 13-5. And Boxwell goes to third.
Well, this is the second time we've seen a pitch up and in to the right-handed batters cross up Rosica. This one gets away from him, no chance to get the runner at home.
A 6-run inning. That's a pass ball on Rosica. He's had a long day, though. You got to give Daniel Rosica a break. He caught every inning of that first game today against Gonzaga. Has to turn around and catch game 2, and that's a lot of bending and crouching and throwing.
And the pitchers haven't really helped him a lot either. He's been working hard back there behind the plate. And it's just tough to make that adjustment on a fastball. If you're set up on the outside part of the plate, looking for a low target, and the pitcher errantly throws a fastball near 90 miles an hour up and in, tough for many catchers to make that adjustment.
3-0 to Kozuki. Walked him. And Toby Hansen will come back up. He started this inning off with a walk. Daniel Rosica is a guy who you might say is an underdog. He came to UCLA and was told he'd never play for the Bruins as a catcher. I mean, he was catching bullpens for the Bruins. But John Savage says no one has worked harder, and nobody is smarter, that's for sure. He's the male scholar athlete of the year at UCLA. But a former walk-on who has now started over 100 games in his career. What a story of perseverance.
I think it's a story that a lot of high school kids need to hear about, because as we talked about, a lot of kids start transferring. They feel like they were overpromised and underdelivered, may not have had an opportunity. Well, this is a man that walked into a situation where he knew exactly where he stood and worked hard, put forth extra effort in the classroom, on the field, and it's paying off.
Toby Hansen with the 3-run homer in the second inning. 3 straight innings now, Minnesota has put up a crooked number. They got 1 in the first, 3 in the second, 3 in the third, and 6 here in the fourth. The only out of the inning for the Gophers so far has been the sacrifice by Mazenga. And we might see him hit again this inning. Ground ball to second. This could be 2 to end it. Slow turn, but they got him. Strumpf to Kendall to Tolia. But it's a 6-run inning for Minnesota. A 2-run single by Eli Wilson. And Alex Boxwell with a 2-run double, part of the onslaught. Here's our game summary. We've had 4 lead changes. 6 pitchers used, 4 for UCLA. And Minnesota hangs 6 in the bottom of the fourth. They lead 13-5.
I think the big factor in that graphic is the 4 pitchers used by UCLA. They just don't have the arms.
Top of the 5th, leadoff single by Chase Strumpf. His first hit of this game and his 8th of the tournament. Well, Minnesota's only used 2 pitchers. Stevenson went 2 innings tonight. Then loaded up the bases for Rose, who's been in since the 3rd. He's done a pretty good job. He had a 1-2-3 4th. And now he's got a man on and Tolia up. Tolia an RBI sac fly in the first. And an RBI single in the third on a ball that was popped up and couldn't be caught in left field by Mazenga. Rose, he'll tag the runner. His momentum was carrying him that way anyway, so that was the play. Strumpf goes to second. We're keeping an eye on Corvallis tonight, where Oregon State can wrap up the trip to the Super Regionals, taking on LSU. It's 2-1. Excuse me, it's 3-0 Oregon State. And that ball game is in the top of the 2nd. So a good start for the Beavers tonight. I got to think that LSU is probably on fumes a little bit too when it comes to the pitching department.
Yeah, give up 14 runs in 1 game. Probably went through several pitchers.
1 down, and Stronach up for UCLA. The first baseman, McDevitt, will flip to Rose, 2 down. And Strumpf goes to third. Duke has eliminated Troy 15-6 the final. So Duke will take on Georgia. Georgia's 2-0 in Athens. Scott Strickland has done a great job with the Georgia Bulldogs program this year. Year 5 for Strickland. You know, his time in Athens appeared to be on life support last year. He gets a 5th year, and his young dogs have really matured here in 2018. get a top 8 national seed. Daniel Amaral at the plate. I don't know where that pitch was. The ball and a strike.
We've usually been able to kind of gauge what the strike zone has been for most of the umpires. I think there's been a few missed calls here. Tough to complain about it if you are the Golden Gophers up by 8 runs.
Two balls and a strike. Greg Street, our home plate umpire tonight. Fred Cannon at third. Mike Lusky at second. And Jason Bradley at first base. It's been a long weekend for these guys, too. Out of the zone, 3-1.
There are 6 men on the umpiring crew that rotate. Only 6 here. Mark Ditzworth, who actually umpired games when I was in college, was the head of the crew. Done a great job. Still got a few arguments with him.
You're not going to win him, I can tell you that much. Line drive to left. It's going to score a run. Amaral with his 2nd run batted in of the day, or at least of this game, and his 6th of the tournament. He has really swung it well for UCLA. It's now 13-6.
That's not a bad pitch by Rose. Fastball in the inner half. And give credit to Amaral. Just punches it out to the left field. We're seeing some strong guys in the batter's box for both teams. Not getting the best swings, maybe a little bit long, but strong enough to get it out into the outfield.
Garrett Mitchell has a single and run batted in 2 plate appearances. Big swing and a miss for Mitchell. Freshman right fielder. Type 1 diabetic. We talked about this last night on the broadcast. He plays with an insulin pump under his jersey. There's a little clip of where he hides it. Not a big deal.
Oh.
He is a tremendous athlete. We talked about his frame earlier, 6'3", 200 pounds. And he has a bright future.
Absolutely. And many around the program believe he's the best athlete on the team, which is high praise when you consider you got Strumpf and Tolia, Amaral, but Mitchell is a guy that has that potential. Very high ceiling.
Ground ball pulled foul, 1-2. Train rolling by here at Dick Siebert Field. This is just a great ballpark. Fun setting for an on-campus stadium. And a lot of fans that have shown up here this weekend might be new to Gopher baseball because the program hasn't hosted a regional in so long. And this team has given some fans the fever. And Gophers program officials, John Anderson, certainly they don't care that these fans maybe haven't been following them for many years. Better now than never.
Well, they've been privy to very good teams around this program for many years, but the word got out early about this team 2018 and how special they would be. They've lived up to that.
And now it's 3-2.
And you consider they lost 6 pitchers from 2017, reloaded with a couple of freshman arms, some special, very talented freshmen like Max Meyer and Patrick Fredrickson. They hit the ground running. At one point in the season, they had 19 games in 25 days.
43 wins this season, the most in a long time. Runner goes, fouled off. Gophers 43-13, 18-4 in Big Ten play during the regular year. They won the Big Ten regular season and the tournament. We've got our first team going to the Supers. Stetson taking out Oklahoma State tonight 11-1. The Stetson Hatters are in the Super Regional.
I love that name. Is that one of the best nicknames in college baseball, on college sports?
No, the Banana Slugs is better.
I don't even know that one.
Garrett Mitchell with the walk. UC Santa Cruz, the Banana Slugs.
Sounds like, when you said Banana Slugs, that sounds like a minor league team.
Yeah.
But see, I learn something every day.
Yeah.
I'm
been around
coachable.
for a while. That's one of my favorites.
I've been told I'm coachable.
You are. The Long Beach State Dirtbags, that's a pretty good one too. Yeah.
That is a good one.
Ryan Kreidler comes up with 2 on. UCLA with 1 across here in the 5th. Bruins, that never say die spirit here tonight. They get down big in the 4th inning, but here they come back in the 5th. What a storied program UCLA is.
Oh.
This is the 22nd national tournament appearance, the 10th under their current head coach, John Savage. Think of some of the first-round draft picks they've had over the years. All the talent they've produced, especially under that man. I mean, Savage has had 3 first-round pitchers at UCLA. Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer. They were 1 and 3 in the draft in 2011 alone. You had James Caprillion go in the first round in 2015. But this is the program that had Jackie Robinson.
Way back.
They play at Jackie Robinson Stadium in Los Angeles.
Played multiple sports.
Football, baseball, he ran track. 2 strikes to Kreidler. Rose trying to get out of the inning here for Minnesota. 1-2. Struck him out. UCLA will have to settle for 1. 13-6 our score. Minnesota leads. Now Washington is on to the Super Regionals. One of the 4 teams in the tournament from the Pac-12 is on for the first time in program history. Stetson is on to the Supers for the first time in program history. The other Pac-12 team still alive, Stanford and Oregon State. And Stanford is trailing Cal State Fullerton 1-0 in the top of the 3rd. Oregon State leading LSU 3-0 in the bottom of the 2nd. 24 College World Series appearances for the Pac-12 since '99. The SEC has the most, 39. And well represented in this year's national tournament. 10 bids from the SEC. Of course, Florida won it last year, trying to become the first repeat program since 2010-2011, when South Carolina, also an SEC program, last did it.
There's been some, I wouldn't say controversy, but there's been some people that obviously wonder and maybe a little bit jealous, envious of SEC having 10 teams in there. But based on what we're seeing in the regional and the production thereof, I'd say most of it was justified, at least.
They almost had 11.
Yeah.
Kentucky had its bubble burst on Selection Monday, had a great RPI. And they were left on the outside looking in. That pitch inside to Luke Pedersen, the leadoff hitter, leads off the fifth. He's got a couple of hits tonight and 2 runs scored. Garrett Barker continues to pitch for UCLA. Second appearance today. He pitched earlier in game 1 of the day against Gonzaga. Bullpen is working for the Bruins.
He actually pitched yesterday as well. Just got in for 1 batter.
John Savage hoping that Barker can keep this where it is and UCLA can pick away, but this isn't good. Every time you walk the leadoff hitter, it never ends well.
It doesn't. You consider the Golden Gophers every inning but 1, they've had the leadoff batter on base.
And that answers our question about Holden Powell. We saw him in game 1 against Gonzaga today. He pitched 19 pitches. And we wondered if he'd be available for game 2, and there's your answer. He's getting loose in the pen.
Well, I think in a perfect scenario, you would have been able to get about 5 innings out of Ralston. Then had a guy like Barker come in. Still have Hadley as an option. And then the possibility of holding Powell till tomorrow, but can't afford to run that risk right now.
Mazenga. And Barker lets it roll foul. Trying to bunt his way on. Mazenga laid down a sacrifice bunt in the 4th. He's 0 for 2. And that has brought his average down to the embarrassing 371.
What a great season for that young man. Probably more built like a center fielder, but Boxwell is out in center field, so he plays left field.
Does Mazenga get more to hit because Vavra is behind him?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You'd rather have Mazenga hurt you than Vavra. And as you can tell by his numbers, he's made those teams pay for pitching to him.
There's Taryn. He'll hit next. Inside out swing. He'll dump it into left field. That was pretty. First hit of the game for Ben Mazenga, his 3rd of the tournament. And here comes Taryn Vavra, who hasn't been put out yet tonight.
Minnesota, the shortstop, number 6, Taryn Vavra.
When Vavra's last at bat, they pitched around him to some extent, walked him. Unintentionally, but intentionally.
We're going to see another UCLA pitching change. John Savage coming to the mound here in Minnesota. 13-6, the Gophers lead. Pitcher number 5 for UCLA tonight. It's Holden Powell, the Bruins closer. Second appearance of the day. He comes in with nobody out, and the Gopher 5th and a man on. First and a man on second.
Well, making his 29th appearance, he's a strike thrower and ramp his velocity up into the mid-90s. Never too early to bring him in. He can be a guy that can quiet down the bats for the Gophers.
He has 6 saves on the year. Usually a back of the bullpen pitcher, but tonight he comes in the middle innings. John Savage hopes he can give him some quality work. Eat up an inning or 2, maybe longer, and keep UCLA hanging around. The last 5 plate appearances for Taryn Vavra, he's had 4 hits and a walk. Going back to last night.
And you know what? This game is far from being over. I mean, you're tapping into bullpens. You never know what the Gophers will bring out. And we've seen the Bruins be able to put up crooked numbers on the board quickly, especially in the latter part of games. You just have to figure out a way to stop the bleeding. Can't allow the Gophers to score much more.
UCLA hung a 3-spot in the 3rd inning, and there's only been 1 inning where they didn't score, and that was the 4th. So John Savage's offense has been good today. Strike to Vavra, 1-1. They got 10 runs earlier today against Gonzaga on 13 hits. And UCLA has 6 runs on 8 hits tonight. And with it being game 3 of the tournament, and pitching's an issue for every team, including Minnesota. So you're right. You can't count UCLA out.
Anything can happen. You get some of these young arms in these tough situations. I start hitting the ball all over the park.
2-1. Hit well to center, but right at Daniel Amaral. And Vavra is retired for the first time tonight. And that'll bring his average down to 394.
For Minnesota, the catcher, number 4.
I'll take that swing any day of the week. Sometimes the best balls hit find the leather.
Eli Wilson's been swinging it really well too, Dana. 2-run single his last time up. He's 1 for 2 with a walk. Couple runs batted in.
These Gophers had the chance to play their conference tournament at TD Ameritrade in Omaha. Obviously a goal for them to get back there in a couple of weeks. And Eli Wilson, in a park that's not known for many home runs hit an absolute bomb to left center field. First pitch of an at-bat.
Took something off. 2 strikes to count. TD Ameritrade still plays big.
Yeah.
They moved the wall in. They made some adjustments there in recent years, but that is a big ballpark in Omaha. Pitchers like working there.
Oh, absolutely. And you consider between the power alleys, 375 sign and 375 sign, not many hits. I believe you can count on one hand how many home runs have been hit between the 375 signs. I remember in 2014, the Big Ten tournament, a kid named Kyle Schwarber stepped to the plate.
Oh, yeah.
And hit a bomb out of, looked like it was going to hit the Blatt restaurant across the street. The furthest ball I've seen hit in college baseball.
Former Indiana Hoosier has a World Series ring. 1-2, trying to go the other way. Eli Wilson, but he flicks it foul.
And that's a good approach. If you are a right-handed batter against a right-handed pitcher that's constantly throwing you off speed, in your mind, you have to think about hitting the ball to right field. Hold yourself back just a bit. You've seen him get out, way out on his front. Get weaker swings that way.
Runners go. The throw from Rosica to third is a good one. Got him. Pedersen is out, number 3 of the inning. Strike him out, throw him out, double play. So Minnesota goes scoreless in the 5th inning. It is 19-6 Vandy in the bottom of the ninth. Ready to win it are the Commodores and move on to the Super Regionals. Clemson, the number 10 national seed. Maybe seconds away from bowing out. First pitch swinging is Rosica, the number 9 hitter for the Bruins. Alex Boxwell, the center fielder, calls everybody off. And Rosica's 0 for 3.
Had the chance to watch Kiner Kaiser since high school.
Yeah.
Talent. Not many people were surprised that he got an opportunity to go to Vanderbilt. Blue Valley School District in Overland Park, Kansas.
Vanderbilt has had some really good years under Tim Corbin in recent years. Of course, winning it all in 2014. I wouldn't say this has been a vintage year for the Commodores by their standards. You know, they've had some terrific teams, but they get into the tournament, and now they have a chance to get to the Super Regionals. Looks like it's all but a done deal for Vandy. Line drive to left, backing up Mazenga. Long run won't get there. It's over his head. Jeremy Idens will walk into second base with a 1-out double to get UCLA going here in the 6th inning. Wind still whipping. At least the sun not an issue for the outfielders anymore.
And that ball was hit well, extremely well. No real chance for Mazenga to get back on that ball.
Everybody's got a jacket on here tonight. Temps are going to drop into the 50s overnight here tonight. It's in the mid 60s now here in Minneapolis. Man on, 1 out for Kevin Kendall. Wilson lost it at his feet momentarily. The Vanderbilt Commodores take the Clemson Regional. It's over. So Vandy punches a ticket to the Super Regionals, joining Washington and Stetson. We're going to have a lot more coming in here in the next hour or so. Vandy into the Supers for the 8th time. First time for Washington, first time for Stetson, which got the number 11 national seed.
What a great accomplishment for the Huskies and for Stetson as well.
All the Pac-12 teams are still alive, Dana. UCLA, one of the 4 Pac-12 teams that got into the tournament. We got a Vandy fan here in the crowd in Minneapolis. Maybe watching Vandy celebrate online on the ESPN app.
Probably.
Swung on and missed. 2 down. Kendall goes out on strikes. As Oregon State has opened up a 5-0 lead on LSU in the top of the 3rd. Fullerton's beating Stanford 1-0 in the 4th. And Indiana has a lead on Texas, trying to force a Game 7 in that regional. It's in the bottom of the 4th. If Indiana can force that to Monday, that would be something.
Big accomplishment for the Hoosiers. Chris Lamone is really doing a nice job with that program. They got as high as 11th, I believe, in rankings this season. Stumbled a little bit at the end.
Jackson Rose on the mound for Minnesota. He's got 2 outs here in the 6th inning. A comfortable lead for Minnesota of 7 runs.
And how about Jackson Rose coming in, tough situation, kind of settled in right now, eating up some innings.
He's only given up 1 earned run here tonight. To left, Mazenga has to come in this time. He'll make the catch. Heidens is stranded. UCLA denied in the 6th. We played 5.5. 13-6 Minnesota. Oregon State got out to a great start against LSU tonight. Stephen Kwan with a home run. Michael Gretler with an RBI base hit. And then Jack Anderson came up with the bases loaded. And he got hit by a pitch by Fontenot. So Oregon State is in command 5-0 in the 3rd. They can punch a ticket to the Super Regional round with a win tonight. They'll take on the winner, if they should hold on, of the Minnesota Regional, the Minneapolis Regional, as it were. And right now, Minnesota leads 13-6. Gophers win tonight. They can wrap it up. And UCLA hoping that they can come back and force a game tomorrow night with Minnesota. Coffey's 1 for 2 with a single and a run scored. Five, 6, and 7 for Minnesota. Coffey, McDevitt, and Boxwell. 13 runs on 10 hits for Minnesota. A 3-run homer for Hansen, a 2-run homer for Boxwell. And a sharply hit ground ball cut off by Kendall. And a strong throw for the first out.
For Minnesota, the first baseman, number 10, Cole McDevitt.
McDevitt's driven in a couple tonight for Minnesota. Holden Powell came on in relief last inning for UCLA. The 5th pitcher to work for the Bruins tonight. To third, Kreidler charging. The throw in time. 2 down. UCLA hasn't been able to get the Gophers 1-2-3 yet this ball game. They finally turned Minnesota away in the 5th without allowing a Gopher run. But you talked about it before, Dana. Minnesota's ability to put up crooked numbers here tonight early has been a big key to helping out the pitching tonight. That wasn't great from their starter.
Absolutely. You look at the scoreboard, and UCLA got out ahead early, but the Gophers just kept coming back, kept punching back. No matter what UCLA could do in the batter's box, it did not faze the Gophers, and that's pretty much been the story of their year. As Coach Fornacier talked about earlier when we had him on, they've been down this road before.
Foul ball from Alex Boxwell. He's been on all 3 times he's been to the plate tonight. A walk and a run scored in the 2nd, the 2-run homer in the 3rd, and a 2-run double in the 4th. As Minnesota's trying to win a regional for the first time since 1977, the last time the Gophers made a trip to Omaha. Struck him out. Powell gets the K. It's a 1-2-3 inning for UCLA. We played 6, 13-6 Gophers. 3 tickets punched to the Super Regionals tonight, and they're going to be more as the inning continues. The Stetson Hatters are in the Supers for the first time in program history, as are the Washington Huskies out of the Pac-12. Vanderbilt going to the Supers for the 8th time. But how about the Pac-12? 9-2 in the tournament so far. 4 teams still alive. The 4 that made it. 4 that are in, still alive. New pitcher for Minnesota. Brett Schulz making his 22nd relief appearance of the year. 2nd appearance in the regional.
Well, another young arm for the Gophers. And first we got to give a lot of credit to Jackson Rose and acknowledge his 4 innings. Gave up 5 hits, and during a time when things were kind of questionable for the Gophers and UCLA was knocking at the door, Jackson Rose came in and did a really nice job of shutting things down. There you see the numbers for Schulz. 44 strikeouts on the season.
First baseman number 7, Michael Tolia.
Schulz is 9-0 in 20 relief appearances this year for the Gophers. He was a starter last year, but he's found a home in the bullpen. And Michael Tolia got around on that one, whacks it foul. Tolia is 1 for 2 with a sacrifice fly, a base hit, and a couple of runs batted in. Schulz pitched in the 7th inning against UCLA last night. Loaded the bases but got out of trouble. And then Max Meyer was great in the 8th, 9th, and 10th to get the win. This hit him. Tolia's aboard. And this is what'll drive a coach crazy.
Yes.
You've got a big lead. All they want the pitcher to do at this point is come out and throw strikes, not hit people, not give up cheap ones, and come out and the first guy you face, you hit.
Especially when you got a solid defense like the Gophers do. You'll position your outfielders a little bit deeper so that the extra base hits are a little bit tougher to come by. And then you just ask a pitcher like Schulz, hey, just throw strikes, lean on the defense, force them to get 20 hits to get back into this game.
Six runs on 9 hits for UCLA so far. Jake Stevenson started the game for Minnesota. Lasted only 2 innings, left the bases loaded in the 3rd. Jackson Rose took over. And he went the next 4 innings. And he only gave up 1 run. He was charged to him. Landed the UCLA bullpen. This is a dangerous part of the UCLA order. number 5, Jack Stronach. Number 6, Daniel Amaral in the order on deck. They've been productive tonight. And UCLA has had a fighting spirit all day. Of course, they had to win earlier today against Gonzaga. At 10 runs, banging out 13 hits to beat the Zags and get to this point. Ground ball. They're going to go to second for the force. Not in time for the double play, but Coffey gets the lead runner. And there's one down in the UCLA 7th.
Micah Coffey does such a nice job with his footwork and getting strong throws to second base and double play opportunities. Talked about his leadership, very vocal on the field, off the field.
He asked John Anderson who the captain of this team is, and he'll say Micah Coffey. They don't officially have a captain, but unofficially it's him. And he led by example last night, driving in the game-winning run in the 10th. Amaral's up there for UCLA. He has driven in runs with singles his last 2 times to the plate. Here's another guy who I've really enjoyed watching this weekend.
Took him a little while to get going in the batter's box, but he's really come along. But defensively, he's been stellar out in center field. Good strong arm. Can cover a lot of ground.
His dad, Rich, was a UCLA Bruin. Played in the major leagues. His brother, Bo, played at UCLA. Now in the Seattle AA system. Amaral moved down to the 6th hole in mid-April, and he's been good in this spot. He's been really good tonight. One out for the Bruins here in the top of the 7th. Puts a charge in it to left center. Long run, Mazinga. And he's going to dive and not get there. Over the wall for a double. And Stronach's going to have to stop at third. Here come the Bruins with one out.
That was a nice job, a good swing, off speed, down and in, and Amaral goes down and gets it. Excellent hustle by Mazinga out in left field. Really no chance to make a play there. And I believe that's the 5th or 6th ground rule double that we've had in this regionals.
Yeah.
Gotta love the effort, though.
Yeah, you certainly give him style points.
Yeah.
So 2 on for Mitchell. He has an RBI single to his credit tonight. That's the 10th hit for UCLA. Brett Schulz comes set. Here's the pitch. And he misses. An RBI single in the 2nd, a line out to left in the 3rd, and a walk in the 5th. Mitchell doesn't have a home run on the year, but the way the wind is blowing out tonight, Dana, if you get something up to medium deep center field or right center, it could carry out of here, and it would completely change the complexion of this game.
Well, we saw him and his ability to put a ball deep into the field, to charge into it, a triple in the game earlier today. So he has the ability to do so. Big, strong kid. Shaw's struggling just a bit. He's had some command issues this year. This is not what you wanted to see at this part of the game if you're Ty McDevitt.
Lifted out of play, 2-2. Gopher fans getting behind the pitcher Brett Schulz, the sophomore from Maple Grove, Minnesota. Called strike 3 on the inside corner.
Big time pitch from Schulz here. Thought the umpire might pull a muscle. So emphatic with that strikeout call. Good frame on the inside part of the plate.
I love John Anderson's reaction in the background. Big fist pump. As Ty McDevitt comes out, the pitching coach, to make a brief appearance out there for a meeting. Watch John Anderson in the background. That's about as emotional
That's
as he
as much
gets.
as you're going to get from John Anderson.
37 years as head coach here in Minneapolis. The winningest coach in Big Ten history, but he has never won a regional. So this is a big weekend for him, for his program. And he also knows his right arm. Rob Fornacier is retiring at the end of the season. He would love to give him a going-away present.
Well, he's such an honest guy, very unassuming. You think, you know, he's can be short with words at times, but if you have an engaging conversation with him, and I was fortunate to do so at the Big Ten tournament, he had me in the dugout for about 35 minutes.
Ryan Kreidler up there. Strike 1 is in. We've got another ticket punch to the Super Regionals. We'll tell you who it is in a second. 0-2. Congratulations to the Auburn Tigers. 15-7. They beat NC State tonight. Add Auburn to the list as teams going to the Supers. Congratulations to Butch Thompson and his staff. Our good buddy Gabe Gross, first year as the team's hitting coach, has done a great job. And Auburn is moving on. Just outside. If the Florida Gators get to the Supers, which everyone expects, Auburn would match up with Florida in the Super Regional round in Gainesville. The 1-2 to Kreidler. Inside. 2-2. Auburn has Casey Mize. And when you have a pitcher like that, who's expected to be 1-1 in the draft on Monday, tomorrow, you can really set the tone in a Super Regional.
Oh, yeah.
Gives you a great chance to advance to Omaha. Popped up. It's going to get out of play.
Well, you're exactly right, Clay. To have that kind of dominant ace as part of your rotation makes it very, very tough for opponents to have to come together and beat you twice, knowing that you have a slim chance of beating that ace. Gophers have that same problem. It's a good problem.
Kreidler works a full count. Ground ball should end the inning. From short, Vavra makes the throw. UCLA gets 2 on, but they can't get anybody home. It's 13-6. 7th inning stretch time here in Minneapolis. Welcome back to Minneapolis and the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. The energy really palpable here at Seaford Field. You can feel it's starting to build for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The fans know that it's been a long time since Minnesota has won a regional. 41 years, in fact. The last time the Gophers were in the College World Series. We go to the bottom of the 7th. Minnesota with a comfortable lead, 13-6. Alongside former Iowa Hawkeye Dana Hughes, I'm Clay Matfick. You played at Iowa in 2 sports, baseball and football. You've been in a lot of big situations. There's nerves for these Gopher players because there is so much anticipation with trying to do something that hasn't been done here in a long time.
Absolutely, but I think John Anderson has a pulse on this team, and they have some good senior leadership. We mentioned Michael Coffey, several other players that really have done a nice job of keeping everything kind of easy going. They have some characters on their team, and it's a special team. John identified that earlier this season. But human nature, you're going to have some of those kind of butterflies during this situation, trying not to make a mistake, not to open the door up for the Bruins. But as you mentioned, the fans and that man right there, they're waiting for the end of this game to be able to celebrate the opportunity to do something for the first time.
Anderson got the job when he was 26 years old in 1981. And he is 63 years old now, and he has never won a regional. Kazaki flies out to start the 7th. For more information on the Division I baseball tournament, where you can find an interactive bracket, go to ncaa.com. Kazaki's out number 1. Here comes Hansen. Holden Powell continues to pitch for UCLA. John Anderson was the MVP of the 1977 Gopher baseball team that went to the College World Series. The 5th and most recent time for Minnesota. And on the hands, short right. Backing out the second baseman Strump makes the play. Hansen is out number 2. Anderson was a student coach that year. There were a ton of studs on that team, Dana. Paul Molitor included. He was an All-American on the team. There were 12 guys who were drafted on the roster. They went to the College World Series, and the team voted at the end of the year who should be the MVP, and it was unanimous. John Anderson won. Even though that team was loaded with great talent, Anderson, a student coach, was given that honor. And it tells you what he meant to the program then and what he has meant to the program for almost the last 4 decades.
Well, it's just about the respect that he's commanded and has been given to him. A lot of respect around this program, the only Division I program in the state of Minnesota.
Paul Molitor was here last night. Manager of the Minnesota Twins. He was a first-team All-American in '77. The Chief, Dick Siebert, was the head coach.
Star Wars and Prince. I was 7 years old then.
A young man.
I'm a grandfather.
You don't look it.
Thank you.
You see the College World Series appearances. It was a different format back then. They didn't have the super regional format. That started in 1999. That's why if Minnesota can get it done tonight, it'll be their first super regional appearance. In fact, the last time Minnesota hosted a regional, that was 2000. And Butler was here. Wichita State was here. Nebraska was here. And it was the Cornhuskers.
Very good Nebraska teams.
Who moved on. Yeah, they came out of here. Fly ball down the line left field. Hansen is going to be out. So it's a 1-2-3 inning. Minnesota is done in the 7th. They have a big lead going to the 8th. The ESPN networks are bringing you every game on the road to Omaha. We hope you've enjoyed the regional coverage this weekend on ESPN2, the U, SEC Network, and ESPN3. Whip-around coverage also available through ESPN3 and the Bases Loaded channel. Clay Matvick and Danon Hughes here in Minneapolis, Siebert Field, where the Gophers are in charge 13-6 as we move to the 8th inning. Minnesota needs 6 outs to get onto the Supers. Pinch hitter up there for UCLA, R.J. Tajero, who had a big pinch hit in the 9th inning on Friday against Gonzaga. Part of that 4-run 9th against the Zags, where the Bruins came back and won 6-5. He strokes it here to the first baseman, McDevitt. Knocks it down. He'll take it himself. Well played. When you think about that game, Danon, and how important that's been to UCLA's weekend. Now, they're in a tough spot here in the 8th, down 7. But it looked like they were going to lose that first game, and they pulled victory out of the jaws of defeat against the Zags.
And it was in late fashion, heroic fashion. And actually, as you mentioned, a couple of pinch hit, clutch hits came through. It's a fun game to be a part of. Not fun for the Zags, but got to give credit where it's due. The Bruins really stepped up, and they haven't played their best baseball, especially in the batter's box, but they figured out ways to win games.
They won 19 games this year in the Pac-12, the very competitive Pac-12. Finished 4th in the league. Speaking of the Pac-12, Oregon State, one of the 4 teams from the conference, leading 6-0 over LSU now in the top of the 5th. 4 teams from the league in the national tournament, all still alive. Of course, Washington has punched a ticket to the Supers. Two and two to Jeremy Idens. Idens doubled his last time up. Strike 3 call. Second strikeout for Schultz.
2 consecutive very good pitches by Scholes. A fastball with some arm side run for the second strike, and then that slider right there gets him looking.
Second inning for Brett Scholes. Hit the first guy he faced tonight in Tolia, and it didn't look like he was going to be long for this game the way he got going, but was able to get out of the 7th without giving up a run. He's retired the first 2 Bruins he's faced here in the 8th, and now Kevin Kendall at the plate. He's got a double in 4 trips.
And we've seen this throughout the course of this weekend. Pitchers coming into this game, whether it's because of the stage or what's on the line, taking a little while to get in a groove. Looks like Scholes has kind of found a rhythm.
Sprayed down the line, foul. They're on their toes in the UCLA bullpen. That came screaming in there. The bullpen is active again for UCLA. We may have a new pitcher for them in the 8th inning. Swung out and missed. Scholes with a couple of Ks in the 8th. And UCLA is down to 3 outs. Minnesota 13, Bruins 6. Auburn 15-7 the final. There's our buddy Gabe Gross getting some hugs. On to the Supers for the second time. 4 teams have punched tickets, and they're going to keep coming here. A lot of games finishing up now. But we talked about it before. Auburn is going to be a team to be reckoned with because of the pitching. Casey Mize, Tanner Burns, Davis Daniel also on that rotation. Mize is going to be the #1 pick tomorrow, they think. This is a last-minute change, but certainly looks like it's going to be that way. Minnesota leading here 13-6 as the Gophers hit the bottom of the 8th. And Minnesota hoping to join that list. The teams moving on to the Super Regionals. New pitcher Nathan Hadley for UCLA, Dana.
And the junior does have some gas in him. Can ramp up to about 92, 89 and 92 with his fastball. Has a good changeup to complement it. And he'll get an opportunity here.
Mazenga going the other way. Diving play. And Ivins can't make the catch. Second hit for Mazenga. UCLA giving it.
Ivins has been very busy out in left field, and ball tailing away from him from the left-handed batter Mazenga. It's a nice effort right there.
He had it in his glove. Yeah. It just came out on the roll. '11th hit for Minnesota. As Taron Vavra comes up again. An RBI double in the first, a single and a run scored in the third. Also walked and scored in the 4th. He lined out his last time up.
Having a great year, a great regionals. I started to think last inning about who you would have as the most outstanding player here, and you had a vote be between Vavra and Hansen, I believe.
That's a stolen base for Mazenga. How about the Gophers keeping the foot on the gas? New catcher, Will McInerney.
You can appreciate that kind of mindset. You and I talked about this, I think, when Canisius was playing, about piling on and the concept behind piling on, and I don't believe into it. I don't buy into it. I think you play the game of baseball. You never know what can happen, especially in these type of do or die situations.
And with aluminum bats.
Yeah.
Teams can pile up a lot of runs in a hurry. Popped up left field. Ivins will come in. Makes the catch. And Vavra is an out. Arkansas has clinched the spot in the Super Regionals. Congratulations to Dave Van Horn and the Razorbacks. They're going to the Supers. So add the Hogs to the list, into the Super Regional round for the 7th time in program history. So now a pretty good SEC field of this thing. Vanderbilt, Auburn, Arkansas, all in. Eli Wilson fouls it off. 2-run single for Wilson on his night. That was in the big 4th inning, Danon, when this game really opened up for Minnesota. They scored 6 times. Hadley throws hard. 2 strikes. That was 92 at the knees.
Well, you can tell he brings everything he has into every pitch. Makes it deceptive for his off speed as well. Has the same kind of motion and delivery with the changeup.
It's a strikeout. Wilson goes down looking. 3rd time he has struck out tonight. 2 down for Coffey. As we look ahead to the UCLA 9th, it's a part of the order they want up 3, 4, and 5. They're going to have a big hole to climb out of. Right now it's 7 runs. Could be more because Coffey is up with a man in scoring position. And he's been good under these circumstances so far in the regional.
There's that changeup from Hadley. Everything stays. Another pitcher for the Bruins that has a little bit of a herky-jerky movement. But he does use his lower half very well.
Down the line foul. Another thing I appreciate about John Savage is great pitching coach, but if it's working for a guy, he's not going to mess with it.
Yeah. Just fine-tuning. These kids play a lot of baseball growing up, much more baseball than I did. And sometimes all you need to do is just tinker a little bit. You don't need to change.
Fly ball to right. Coming over Mitchell. He'll make the catch. Last chance for the UCLA Bruins. They need 7 to tie. We go to the 9th. Minnesota trying to get to the Supers for the first time in program history. Fred Mankey on for Minnesota. He needs 3 outs to send the Gophers to the Super Regional.
Well, senior, been a part of this program for a while, gets an opportunity to close out the game that everyone's been waiting for as Gopher fans. Just his 9th appearance on the season. Sidearm guy with a lot of sink on his fastball, 88 to 90. What a position to put this young man in.
Could be an historic night for this program. Minnesota's never been to the Super Regional since the format came into existence in '99. They haven't won a regional since '77. It's been a big baseball day already in the Twin Cities. The Twins beat Cleveland today 7-5 on a walk-off homer by Eddie Rosario. His 3rd homer of the day. So this is an epic baseball day in the making here in the Twin Cities. Mankey's first pitch swung on and fouled off. Chase Strumpf has 1 hit tonight. He's been on base twice. He has 8 hits in the regional. There is no such thing as a 7-run homer. UCLA has to think about chipping away. That's a well-hit ball right at Vavra, however. High throw. McDevitt stayed on the bag for out number 1.
A tough play for Vavra. Reads it well. Gathers himself. Just almost airmails it. But you can see a nice job. Good body control by McDevitt at first base.
Texas Tech has clinched a spot in the Super Regionals. 11-6, they knock out Louisville and move on. Congratulations to Tim Tadlock's bunch. One strike to Tolia. What a play by the second baseman Pedersen, who was on the turf in short right field. And he needed all the real estate he could get to make that play. 2 down.
Excellent play by the senior second baseman. Good read on the bounce.
Bruins down to their last out. And the Gophers 1 out away from program history. Oregon State leading LSU 6-0 in the bottom of the 6th now. Could do it to center. Boxwell reaches up, can't get it. It's going to get to the wall. A 2-out base runner for UCLA here in the 9th. So Stronach gets a double to keep it going for UCLA.
Just a misjudged ball. Looked like he cruised back instead of getting back fast. Didn't make the play.
So Danny Anaral will get a chance. First pitch from Mankey is low to Daniel Amaral, who has 3 hits tonight. Two and 0. If Oregon State holds on to beat LSU, the Beavers will host the Supers in Corvallis next week. Minnesota can hang on and finish this year, and it looks like they will. The Gophers will pack their bags and head west.
And what a treat for these Minnesota Golden Gopher fans to be able to witness this. First time in school history.
These fans have had tickets for a long time to games at this program, waiting for this opportunity. 3-2. And the crowd will come to its feet here at Siebert Field. How big is this for John Anderson? 37 years on the job. He's never won a regional. 1 pitch away, perhaps. walked him. And Garrett Mitchell will come to the plate.
For the Bruins, the right fielder, number 5. Garrett.
Not sure about that pitch selection. Looked like Mankey shook off a fastball and went with the off speed. I think in that situation, you got to go with your fastball, your best pitch. Ended on a high note.
Mankey starts Mitchell with a strike on the outside corner. Garrett is 1 for 3 tonight with an RBI single to his credit. The 0-1. And again, the Bruins down to their last strike. The Big Ten champs in the regular season and in the tournament. Now trying to win their 3rd game in the regional and move on to the Supers for the first time. The Golden Gophers of Minnesota. The 0-2 to Mitchell. Way outside, it's off the glove of Wilson. He has to chase. And Strana goes to 3rd. Amaral to 2nd. The pause button keeps getting pushed on the celebration. The 1-2. Check the swing. The fans wanted the home plate umpire, Greg Street, to ring up Mitchell, but he doesn't oblige.
This is a good pitch by Mankey. Starts out over the heart of the plate. Just a bit inside.
Yeah. So now 2 balls and 2 strikes to Mitchell. Again, no strike 3. It's a full count now. Jake Hirabayashi in the on-deck circle. He'd hit next if Mitchell can keep it going here for UCLA. Line drive, base hit. That's going to score 2. Mitchell to 2nd, and he'll stop there. It's now 13-8. Two-run double for Garrett Mitchell. And now UCLA is going to bring up a pinch hitter.
It's a nice job of hitting by Mitchell. Good 2-strike hitting on the inside part of the plate.
For UCLA, pinch hitting for the 3rd baseman, Ryan Craig.
Jake Hirabayashi called on to pinch hit for the Bruins. Ty McDevitt is out of the Gopher dugout with a slow walk to the mound to talk to Mankey. Hirabayashi, a junior from Sherman Oaks, California. He's got a couple of homers on the year. 15 runs batted in. And Mankey is going to stay in and face him. Gophers need just one more out to punch a ticket to the Supers.
I'm sure Ty McDevitt going out there just chatting with him, trying to relax him in this situation. Helping him understand that this moment is not too big for him.
Well, Mankey was the first base coach for most of this game for the Gophers. He likes to stay involved on the field when he's not pitching. Trying to get the last out. Strike to Hirabayashi. Two runs across here for UCLA in the ninth. Nothing in two. Pretty good looking slider there.
That's a good pitch. Has good movement with his pitches, his off speed. He's got himself in a little bit of a hole at times.
Again, the Bruins down to their last strike. The 0-2. Strike three called, and Minnesota is going to the Super Regionals for the first time in team history. John Anderson has his first regional championship as head coach of the Gophers. (13 to 8) the final. The season is over for John Savage and the UCLA Bruins. They finished 43, 38 and 21 to the UCLA Bruins. Minnesota goes to 44 and 13 and on to the Supers, where if Oregon State wins tonight, and they've got a good lead on LSU, they will play the Beavers next week in Corvallis.
Well, what a great accomplishment for John Anderson and this Golden Gophers program. Rob Fornacier, 33 years, his last game here at Siebert Field. He's able to walk away
Minneapolis Regional
with an opportunity to play in the Super Regional.
From UCLA, Ryan Garcia. From the